Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Janmadi Yasya Yatonvayat Itaratascha Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kavaye Muyanti Yatsuraya Tejovari Vridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trusargo Amrusha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirastakuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Satyam Param Dhimahi Satyam Param Dhimahi. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayaudirayet Shrinvanta Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam Hridyantasta Bhadrani Vidunoti Surutsatam Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naisthiki Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. My thousands of obeisance to His Divine Grace Prabhupada. My millions and thousands of obeisances unto all the Vaishnava Acharyas. And my obeisances unto all the listeners. Vancha kalpataro vescha kripa sindhu vevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Whatever I speak, my dear Vaishnavas, please bless me that it will please Srila Prabhupada, it will please our Gaudiya Acharyas, and above all, it will please Srimati Radharani. That is the goal, samam bonam, of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Radha Dasyam. Hare Krishna. So, in this verse, the first verse, we have described elaborately, almost for a month, we have been describing the first verse, 4 sessions. So just very briefly, so last week we described the last couple lines of this verse, where the verse says that Tejavari Vridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisarga Amrusha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. So it is due to the interactions of the modes of material nature, and also the Pancha Mahabhut, namely the fire, earth, water, their interactions, vinimayo. When that interaction happens, then we actually, the illusory energy of Sri Krishna can make something look different just due to the interactions. And the permutation combinations of the 3 modes of material nature, like the tamogun, rajagun, and satogun, the mode of ignorance, the mode of passion, and the mode of goodness, that actually interacts with each other, and it produces certain different moods, certain consciousness, and certain things in the material world that has been produced. And that is why indirectly Krishna's material world is created through Maya, or the para and the para Shakti. So this Maya Shakti is the Bahiranga Shakti, which is not present in the spiritual world. So in this particular verse, we had last spoken that in Tejovari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo, in this entire creation, 3 sarga, the 3 sarga meaning the 3 worlds, Trisarga Amrusha, it creates this illusion because of the 3 modes of material nature. And because of that tamogun that we all have, all the living entities, in the mode of passion and in the mode of ignorance, we are thinking that we are this body. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasa ahankar vimudatma karta aham iti manyate. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says that prakriti kriyamanani, it is due to the influence of the material nature, the interaction of the material nature. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasa. Because of these 3 gunas, all this, because of all these gunas, gunai karmani sarvasa ahankara vimudatma karta aham iti manyate. Ahankara, due to the ahankar, due to the false ego, because of the influence, just like somebody who is extremely drunk, a drunkard, and he has drunk so much that he can hardly walk straight. But if you tell him that, Arey Baba, be careful, you're not walking properly, shall I get you a taxi? What are you talking, man? My car is right there. I'm going to drive my car home. And if you give me a plane, I can fly a plane. What are you talking about? So that man is totally bewildered, is under illusion due to the influence of alcohol. Similarly, we are all illusion due to the influence of Maya. We are thinking that we are this body, which we are not. Just like a drunkard is thinking in his drunkard state, I am the president of the country. What the hell do you think you are? Just like Prabhupada, I remember many years ago, I had heard this katha that Prabhupada had mentioned that there was one uh, drunkard pot maker. And this pot maker used to work very, very hard. And whatever little rupees he used to get, then at the end of the day, he would spend everything in drinking. And then when he used to come home after drinking, he would talk nonsense, stupid under the influence of alcohol. Look, he would tell his wife, today I made about 100 pots. Tomorrow I'm going to make it double. And the day after tomorrow, I'm going to make it triple. And I'm going to hire more people. And then every day my production will become 1,000 pots. And then in a month's time, I will make it a big industry. I will do 100,000 pots a day. And we are selling one pot for 1 rupee. We will make 1 lakh rupees a day. And we will become very rich. And then then he says, I'm not going to listen to your nonsense. Anytime you're going to tell me any nonsense, and any kick, and it so happened that the 100 pots that he had made that day, that whole day, he kicked that whole row, and the whole row came crashing down. So the point is that we also are under the influence of Maya. Maya has got a deep influence of everything in this material world. And the highest or the biggest influence of Maya is we are thinking that we are this body. I'm Hindu, I'm Christian, I'm Buddhist, I'm Punjabi, I'm Gujarati, I'm Odisha, I'm Bengali, etc. I'm etc. etc. So this is all bodily concept. But in the spiritual world, Vyasadeva describes, the last time we described that Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam. That particular Dham, which is Golok Vrindavan of the spiritual world, Sada, always, Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam. Sada Nirasta Kuhakam is bereft of this material Maya, of the modes of ignorance, Tamogun, Rajogun, and Satogun. So it is bereft of it. So now he is describing, as they've described the material world and the influence of Maya on the material world in this first verse, how powerful Maya is. That Tene Brahma Ridha Adhika Muhyanti Yat Surya. We described that in the previous Sunday. Muhyanti Yat Surya. Even the greatest of the demigods or the greatest of the devotees are put into illusion. We think we are not in Maya, and we elaborately described it about 2 weeks ago. Even when we take the spiritual life, we have to be extremely careful. We should never be grasped with that pride. Oh, I know so much, or I'm better than you, or better than the other person. This is a big disease that most of our temples are infatuated with such devotees, because most of us, we have association, and we are associated with Kanishta Vaishnavas. There are 3 kinds of Vaishnavas. I've mentioned that in my Katha before. Actually, there are 9, but I will just, kind of make it 3 to just understand. Kanishta means one whose thinking is very low, one whose thinking is very, very knee-side, a neophyte, who is very, very poor in front of knowledge in advanced spirituality. One who is very arrogant. A Kanishta Vaishnava thinks that only he is the devotee and everybody else is not a devotee. That is one of the symptoms of the Kanishta Vaishnava. And they behave like that. They will try to give instruction to everyone, and they will try to tell, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, but personally, they are completely a hollow or a vacuum in their personal lives. And there is no progress in their personal life. They're envious of devotees. If somebody even does something very nice, and everybody else appreciate, but this one devotee will never appreciate. He's so badly in Kanishta that he will never see the goodness of that person, even though. So that is one. Madhyam Adhikari Vaishnava is that he not only has faith in the Supreme Lord, but he respects all other Vaishnavas. He will respect all other devotees. And he will try to keep himself away from the association of non-devotees. Otherwise, it is very dangerous. one can fall down, one can actually, it's a dangerous thing to do. It's like, I remember, I don't know how many of you all are here are Maharashtrians or understand Marathi. In our childhood, we had, remember in Doordarshan in India, Bombay, they used to show Marathi movies every Saturday. And I think Sunday was Hindi movies. So we grew up in a predominantly Maharashtrian area. So we had good Maharashtrian friends also. So I like good movies that had got good theatrical uh, meaning. Like some philosophy in it. So I would used to be selective even in those days what kind of movies I will see. So there was this movie, and I still remember the cast. It was Dr. Sriram Lagu, very very fantastic actor in the Marathi stage, and also later on I think he came into Bollywood, into the Hindi stage. And there was a movie called Ekach Pyala. Ekach Pyala means only one glass. Ah, in that, the summum bonum of that movie is that he was a very nice teacher, very very sattvic person, always speaking the truth, teaching the students, and living in a village environment. He had everything good at heart, and everybody respected him very highly. Very very pious person, punyashali vyakti. And I don't remember the other details, but somehow the other he got into the association of a culprit, or I think it was in some kind of, in that time, from village to village, they were called nautankis. They go and they perform dances, etc. These nautankis, it's a small group of artists who go from village to village. And then in that association, he never used to attend them. It was not considered good in society to attend nautankis. Nautankis were generally attended by those people, low class people in the society who did not respect women. It was more or less like a sophisticated version of prostitution. That that women dancing on a stage, and they make some messages that are more or less of a very sexual content, that kind of that kind of. So somehow or the other, he enters into that stage, looking into somebody, drags him into that performance, and then he gets attracted in such a way that then they offer, one of them says, "Here, just one glass, take one glass." So in the company of those ruffians, they push him into drinking one glass of liquor. Ekach Pyala, that's the name of the movie also. And then once he had that first pyala, the first glass, he was finished. He was ruined. He became the worst drunkard. The respect that he had earned in the society. And even it is said in the end of the movie, I remember still, it was in my childhood, I saw it about 40 years ago. Maybe more than that. That they had actually erected a big statue of this teacher, who was like the beacon of their society. But he was so lost in his drinking that his whole outlook had changed, beard, and then when he visited back to his own village and he saw his own statue, people were still respecting, and he's sitting under his own statue and crying. What happened? Ekats pyala, just this one glass destroyed me. So like that, there are real stories in life that people, when they get into the bad association, we get destroyed. So similarly, Maya is so strong. If we think that we are not under Maya, then we are in Maya. And I gave you the example of Giriraj Swami, how Srila Prabhupada, one time on the Juhu Beach morning walk, Giriraj Swami, one of Prabhupada's disciples, said, "Prabhupada," and there were some question answers every day during the morning walk. So he said, "Prabhupada, sometimes we are in Maya," and he was about to say something or ask something. Prabhupada stopped and he looked at him straight in his eye with wide eyes open, and he pointed his stick to him and he says, "You're always in Maya. Why you're thinking that you're not in Maya?" That is, and Giriraj Swami, one of most advanced devotees at that time, very reputed Vaishnavas at that time, he said, "My whole pride came, Prabhupada crashed my pride." So that is the thing that, so Madhyamadhikaris, they avoid the company of abhaktas. That is, there are many more symptoms given by Rupa Goswami, but I'm just, because of the time restraint, I'm just telling you the main points. And then there is Uttamadhikari Vaishnava. The Uttamadhikari Vaishnava thinks that he is the only one that is not a devotee, everybody else is a devotee. And it could be even a ruffian or even a prostitute. Even she is a devotee. They have some part to play in Krishna's creation to fulfill the karma of an entity by fulfilling a particular part in the creation. What high thinking this is. Uttamadhikari. And they don't preach. But Uttamadhikari devotees, they come down to the Madhyam platform. Like Prabhupada is an Uttamadhikari Vaishnava. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Uttamadhikari Vaishnavas. So many Vaishnavas, in our line and other Vaishnava Sampradayas, like the Ramanujacharya, Uttamadhikari Vaishnava in the Sri Sampradaya, or Sri Vallabhacharya, Uttamadhikari Vaishnava in the Vallabh Sampradaya, the Pushtimar, they are Uttamadhikari Vaishnavas. They will never preach, but in order for the well-being of the masses, they come down one step, and only when you are a Madhyamadhikari you can preach. Because if you are in that consciousness of Uttamadhikari, then you will never be able to preach. I am worse. What will I preach to that person? So, but Madhyamadhikari plays a very important role for saving souls. And Krishna wants Madhyamadhikaris. But at some point comes where a Madhyamadhikari stops preaching and he becomes a Baba, like Bhaktivedanta Thakur. He is always a Uttamadhikari. He wrote many books, etc. But there came a point in his life where he reclined everything and then he just went into reclusion and he only did bhajan. He became totally absorbed in bhajan. He did not even preach to anybody because that time the mood of Uttamadhikari was completely, that was his consciousness. So we have to be extremely careful. Tejovari mridam yatha vinima yatra trisarga amrusha. Illusion is very strong. Even after so many learned people, we give you examples of the big Ram Kathakar, how he blasphemed the activities of Sri Krishna and the activities of the Yadavs, etc., and saying that they were drunkards, etc. Janma karma chame divyam jo veti tatva punarjanma neti mameti swarjuna. They've never understood the basics of the spirituality which is given in the Bhagavad Gita, and they're talking about advanced topics. How horrible it is. That is the influence of Maya. Muhyanti yasura tejo vari yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo amrusha dhamna svena sada nirasta kuhakam satyam param dhimahi. So this particular Dham Golok Vrindavan, the spiritual world, it is bereft of Mahamaya, which is consisting of the three modes of material nature, Tamogun, Rajagun and Satagun, the mode of ignorance, the mode of passion and the mode of goodness. Then it is only permeated by Yogamaya. And we explained that time also quite a bit in detail that Yogamaya as like a personality there who has been given, she has been given a blank check by Sri Krishna. Use it as you want to enhance the different leelas, to enhance my relationships with the devotees in Vraj, to enhance that. Especially in Vraj, Yogamaya is extremely, extremely busy, 24/7, no rest for her. In Vaikunta also, Yogamaya is present. But I give you that example of that watchman who is in night duty. And the 8 hours or 10 hours of duty that watchman does, he has nothing else to do. Simply, watch that TV in the cabin or fall asleep. And, only if there is a car coming or somebody honks at the gate, then he wakes up. That little bit work he has to do occasionally. So the Yogamaya in Golok Vrindavan is at its highest and at its peak. So much beauty. She has always constantly, along with Vrindadevi, along with Purnamasi, these three personalities are blessed by Sri Krishna to even put themselves, including Sri Krishna himself, into a very special spell, the spell of Yogamaya. We are in the spell of Mahamaya. Krishna is and the devotees in Vraj are in the spell of Yogamaya. We explained that too. Because, and I gave you the example last time, if you remember, of Mother Yashoda. Mother Yashoda, when Krishna ate mud, asked him to open his mouth, and there when he opened the mouth, reluctantly, finally opened, at that time, Yogamaya, for a few seconds, removed the Yogamaya. Immediately Mother Yashoda saw the entire creation. She saw Vaikunta, she saw the material world, she saw all the different planets. She even saw all the different planets in Vaikuntha. She even saw her own Golok Vrindavan, and she even saw her little Gokul. She even saw her little Gokul in the mouth of Sri Krishna. And not only that, she saw Brahmand Ghat, that tree under which she was sitting and asking Krishna to open the mouth. And she was perplexed. What am I seeing? This is my little Lala, only 3 years, 2.5, 3 years old. And I'm seeing all these things. Oh, I'm crazy. Oh, it is the Maya of Vishnu, meaning Mahamaya, that is making me see all this. So they also have concept. It is not that they don't have concept, they have knowledge. So like this. So like that mother Yashoda, and then immediately Krishna tells Yogamaya, what are you doing? Are you trying to spoil my relationship? You're making me remember that I am the Supreme Lord. You're making her remember that I am the Supreme Lord, which is the topmost secret. My relationship, my intimacy with my own Maya will be spoiled. What are you doing? And then Yogamaya immediately covers that. And then she makes something that I'm imagining things. I've worked very hard today. Kana, no more meat eating. Come on home, wash your mouth. And then she marches his home, and that same intimacy is there, catches Kana's ears and catches his hand. Come on home, in front of everybody in Gokul, and all the gopis are laughing. All the gopas are making fun of the Supreme Personality of God, and Krishna loves that. But there, can anybody make fun of Lord Ramachandra? Can anybody make fun of Lord Narayana? Anantasesh or Lakshman will burn them to pieces immediately. Can anybody even put their hand on the shoulders of Lord Ramachandra? No. But Madhumangal, Sudama, etc., they can put their hands on Krishna's shoulder and they can speak to Krishna very freely because of the Yoga Maya effect. So that is Tejovari Madam Yathavina Yatra Trisarga Amrusha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam. This particular world, the spiritual world, is bereft of Mahamaya. And to that personality, Sri Krishna, who resides in Golok Vrindavan, I offer my obeisances, which is the real truth, which is the source of all the truths. Satyam Param Dhimahi. Satyam Param Dhimahi means the topmost and the absolute truth. There are many different truths, and last time I do remember I even explained very briefly Einstein's theory of relativity by giving the example of a very small car. And imagine it is on a very long flat bed, which is thousands of miles long, on a truck. And the car is actually traveling at 70 miles an hour. And the truck on the road is traveling at 100 miles an hour. So what is the speed of the car? So the question is, relative to what? Relative to the truck, 70 miles, relative to the street, 100 miles, relative to what? Relative to the speed of sound, relative to the quantum quarks that are existing, the atoms and the revolutions, relative to what? I also gave the example of somebody makes a statement, my neighbor is very rich. So it's a relative truth. It may be true, it is rich. He's staying in a $500,000 house, and he's telling somebody who lives in a $10 million home. And in a neighborhood, in the $10 million homes in that subdivision, all the houses are between $10 and $20 million. So if somebody is told that, my neighbor is rich, then, that person will internally think, okay, I understand. But perhaps you have not seen, my neighborhood or my house. So that truth that constantly keep changes is not absolute truth. And that is the reason, even if those who have studied physics, chemistry, science, etc., those are values that are absolute in one sense. I'm just trying to drive the point home. Absolutes, like for example, these are established truths that will not change. Like there are absolute values in physics or chemistry that will never change, and based on those values, experiments are conducted. They are considered as the Bible, as the absolute truth. And based on those facts, like the speed of sound is 323 meters per second square, gravity is 9.8 meters per second square. So if somebody is going to talk about speed and velocity and acceleration, then there is some comparisons that they have that are absolute, and they are using that. Then nobody's going to reinvent that apple that fell on Newton's head. It happened, it was established, it is considered as the absolute truth in the world of science. Similarly, in the absolute truth, in the world of spirituality, or in the absolute truth, in the world of reality, the absolute truth is Sri Krishna, Govinda. He is the reason for everything and the Sarva Karana Karanam. He is indeed the absolute truth. Dhamna Svena Sadad Nirasta Kokam Satyam Param Dhimahi. Vyasdev meditates on that. So this first verse, I think, I am going to be stopping here today because I will probably give a chance. I'm sure people have a lot of questions, and I will try to, curtail this session to maximum 2 hours. But next week, I will go into the more internal meanings of the first verse, which are rasic in nature, which are very, very deep, which I intended to do today, but because, we were glorifying Purushottam Mass, the shortage of time was there. So, but I just wanted to kind of touch base. It's always good to hear again and again the glories. And again, if you all remember, this first verse is a commentary, or actually it is the Gayatri Mantra explanation also. So the first Gayatri, or the Surya Gayatri, that Brahma Gayatri, also known as Om Bhur Bhuvasva Tatsa Vitur Vanenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Napracho Dayat. Amongst all the descriptions that are given in the material worlds, I meditate on Surya, Surya meaning Sri Krishna, and Bhargo Devasya means the energy of Sri Krishna, energies of Sri Krishna, which are in Golok Vrindavan, the gopis, and especially the topmost gopi, Sri Radharani. So there is a wonderful explanation of the Brahma Gayatri mantra. Most people consider that Savitu, Tat Savitu Varenyam means I offer my prayers to the sun god. It is true. But from a deeper perspective, those who are given those eyes and those ears for the special understanding, the deeper meanings of the verses, only they will be able to explain the nuances and the rasa. They will be able to actually, just like, if we go to, in India, most of you all may have had sugarcane juice, ganna juice, right? What does that sugarcane juice wala do? He takes fresh sugarcane that is full of juice, he picks it, and he puts it through the press. And that press squeezes the juice, and he has got one pot there, and that collects the juice. And then what he does on the other side, that the remnants of that bamboo sugarcane comes out, and he folds it again, and he puts it through the press again, and more juice comes out. And he does it many, many times until nothing comes out. So similarly, our Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas and some of our Acharyas in the pure Vaishnava line, they are like this ganna juice walas. They have been, each and every verse, in each and every word, they are able to churn and churn and press and press and compress or vistar and vistar. They're able to expound and expound and expound, so that the churning takes place for the pleasure of Radha Krishna. So next week, definitely get ready. And because it is Ekadashi day, nothing like it. Hopefully, the glories of this verse will take a different dimension of 1.1.1 Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, first verse, first canto, first chapter, first verse. Om Janmadi Yasya Yatvanvayat Itaratascha Artheshwa Abhigyaswarat Tene Brahma Hrida Adi Kavaye Mohyanti Yat Surya Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Amrusha Damna Svena Sada Nirasta Kokam Satyam Param Dhimahi. How beautiful. What a wonderful verse. I'm telling you, perhaps I have very limited capability. And even then, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and our Acharyas, have been able to stretch this for a month now, just on this first verse. So hopefully in the years to come, more and more is revealed in my heart, so that I can share more and more with the devotees. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Sri Guru Gauranga. All glories to Purushottam Mas. Sri Purushottam Mas ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. So, yes, Prabhuji, I would appreciate it if you can make the closing statement. Anup Prabhu, if you are available. And we can unmute after your announcement. Oh, actually, one second. Let me do something. I have not made you the co-host today. So Go ahead. You can unmute yourself and
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.